Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan Najafi, and this is my family tree. I was born in 1989 in Springfield, Missouri. And I'm going to start with my mom's side of the family first. Her name's Kimberly, and she was born in 1964 in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is actually one of the main states that most of my family, be it on my mother's or my father's side, actually still lives. She got a BS in psychology, worked in the school system for a long time, and is now doing HR for my dad's company, actually. My grandfather was born in 1943 in Oklahoma, and he was actually one credit shy of graduating from the University of Oklahoma with a degree in business and decided that he needed to work to provide for his family rather than finish school. And that family constituted of my grandma, who turned 18, graduated high school in June, and got married to my grandpa later that year in September. And both of their parents, all of their parents actually, did not have any higher education. They worked blue collar jobs, much like my grandfather and grandmother and mother, entire family actually. But my great grandma, Mary Lou, worked for Bell South back in the time when it wasn't Bell South. They couldn't tell me what company it was, but she actually retired from there. My great grandfather worked a lot of different jobs, mostly hands on, some construction, but all of my mom's side of the family is from either England or Ireland, going as far back as we can to find all those records, and they all spoke English. They came over during the 17 and 1800s, from what the family records tell us. We don't know a whole lot more about that side of the family. My dad's side, other than, I forgot this fun story. Apparently, once you go further back in this Burleson side, there were two Burleson brothers that came over on a pirate ship of John Lafitte's, and one was actually hung as a horse thief in Tennessee, in which there is actually a town named Burleson, and one went to Texas and hit it rich in oil. We don't know which one we're related to, but we know it's one of them. Hopefully not the horse thief one, but seeing as we have a lot of family in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. But going over to my father's side, Michael was born in 1961 in the same hospital I was born in Missouri. He is actually in insurance adjusting and has been doing that as long as I can remember. That's actually what brought him from Springfield to Atlanta, literally the year that I was born. His mother, let's go the easier route first, Grandma Jean was also from Missouri. Her Tuck side of her family actually came over pretty early during the English colonization of Virginia, and they farmed tobacco. And evidently, that Tuck side of the family, the further back you go, the better off they were, because they were descended from some earl in England. Not sure where. But on the Turner side of their family, they think, there's no way to know for sure, but they think if you go back a couple more generations, there was actually people on the Trail of Tears that eventually led into the Turner family. So there's that. And then on to the Iranian side of my family, which, mind blown, the Najafi is actually from a city in Iraq, but I am reeling from this news still. My grandfather, Nosratola, immigrated in 1957. He came over and to the United States for university, and got a degree in business, and eventually married my grandmother and became a citizen. But later on in his life, he realized that, well, before the revolution in Iran, people with American education were in high demand in Tehran, and so he moved the family back. And at this point, my dad was in eighth grade, and so they lived in Iran for a few years, and everybody learned Farsi. So when I get together with my dad's side of the family, half the conversation is in English and half the conversation is in Farsi. So that means I can only understand half of the conversation because I don't speak Farsi, unfortunately. But they actually moved back to the United States right before the Iranian Revolution, except for some extended family. My Aunt Harleen, and this falls under the cool story category, actually smuggled a lot of jewels and cash out of Iran after the revolution, which was illegal at the time, by sewing it into her undergarments and hiding it under her headscarf and daring the soldiers to search her. She is a very formidable woman, and just looking at her, you don't do that. But moving on to further back on the Iranian side, we had Muhammad and Alea. It looks like Aaliyah in like American terms, but it's actually Alea. They were actually in Iran, and my great-grandmother, Alea, was actually, even though she was full-blooded Persian, was actually blonde and light-haired. So it's kind of a fun tidbit. But Tahi actually is the one that moved the family from Iran to Iraq, and when they moved back from Iraq to Iran is where they picked up the Najafi, because the city they lived in Iraq was Najaf. So that's kind of what blew my mind was my whole life. Yeah, I'm Najafi, I'm an Iranian, and yeah, we are Persian, we're Iranian, but the Najafi is actually of Iraqi origin, I guess you can say. So when Grandpa became a citizen, he dropped the Takhizadeh for obvious reasons. Makes it a whole lot easier to move around and function in American society. So that is my family tree.